Greetings, Studio Scrappers. This is Studio Scrapping with Amy. I'm your host, Amy Yulin, independent consultant with Close to My Heart. One of the great things about the Cricut craft room is that you can actually design your layout in the craft room. So I'm going to show you what I do. I first of all decide on what kind of paper packet am I going to use? And I look up the RGB codes for the paper packets, and I go ahead and on each of my little tabs up here, I name the color. So in this case, it is crystal blue as the name. And then when I click the down arrow, I can choose color and I can enter in the RGB code for that, apply it, and I now have a crystal blue layer in Cricut Craft Room. So I'm using Surf's Up, and that comes with a crystal blue sorbet, Surf's Up gold, and Surf's Up teal. So since I don't have those actual RGB codes, I just sort of guesstimated. Chocolate, white, and Ponderosa pine, and then I just did another layer of a color that's not in the kit, just because I needed more colors. All right, so let me show you what I do with my colors. So for instance, I'm going to turn on my crystal blue layer. I'm making a display tray, and so the display tray is divided into 3x4 rectangles. And so one of the things that I can do is, since I've got all of my Close to My Heart cartridges linked to Cricut Craft Room, I don't have to have those cartridges in when I want to cut. All I need is, so for in this instance, I've got my crystal blue tab selected. I'm choosing my Art Philosophy cartridge. I want this square, and so I am going to drag the square right up here. Now, I want a very specific size. So what I'm going to do to get that size is I'm going to unlink my width from my height, so I'm no longer locking my aspect ratio. I unlink it. I want a width of 3 inches, and I want a height of 4 inches. And then it automatically, so I'm going to tell it not to weld, it automatically will create the size that I want. Now, obviously, in this case, if I was doing this for real, I would have just copied and pasted since I had already done it once, but I just wanted to demonstrate how easy that is. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that one, and I'm going to close out of that. Okay, so now I've got my crystal blue layer on, so I'm going to turn on my sorbet layer, and I've got a couple more squares in there. I'm going to turn on my gold layer, and you can see here with this sun is I went ahead and I was able to look on my art booking page 53, and I can see that I have a border shift, and here I have my sun. So I can just drag that to the mat. I'm going to drag it out here. And again, I can grab a corner to resize, or if I know a specific size that I want, in this case, I did a height of 4 inches. So I can go ahead, and this time I'm going to lock my aspect ratio and do a height of 4, and that automatically changes my width to 4.014. The other thing that you want to remember is, because I've got this image on the same layer as some more of the gold, if I move this over on top of it, it's gonna ask me if I want to weld it, and that's what happens when I weld it. So clearly I don't want to do that. So I'm going to say don't weld, and it'll allow me to move it wherever I want. So in this case, I don't want that there, so I'm going to turn it off. Now I'm going to turn on my teal layer. Oops, let me close out of that a little bit. My teal layer, my chocolate layer, this is where it starts getting fun. Ooh, I know. It's like I'm drawing a picture. It's so fun. Okay, my white layer represents my pictures, so that's where my pictures are going to go. And then my ponderosa pine layer, I went ahead and down here I welded a couple pieces of grass together, and then when I got to my third one, it was kind of a little funky with the like trying to drag it off of the Cricut craft room. And so like here you can see that I'm arrowing over, just trying to get to the end where I can weld these two pieces together. Okay, so here I'm going to try to hit weld and see what happens. It like jumps it back. So I'm not going to do that right now. I'll wait for the next step, which I'll show you here in just a second. Okay, so then my final layer is just sort of those extra little bits of embellishment. So as I look at this, I think, okay, that'll make a pretty nice display tray. So now it's just a matter of cutting each of my layers. So one of the ways that you can do that is, let's just go ahead and turn off. I'll turn off all of my layers. Oh gosh. I guess honestly, even when I turn off all the layers, like I'll just leave the gold layer on and turn off crystal blue and sorbet. Now, if I really wanted these rounded corners, I could go ahead and move these items around and put in some paper and cut. Okay. But honestly, I don't really need those rounded corners. The only reason I had them there was simply because I wanted to build the page before I started cutting. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag these off of my mat and put my little sunburst up here. And now I can load in that paper and print or cut just the sun. Same with my teal layer. Like I don't even need to do anything on the teal layer because I'll just cut that with my paper trimmer. My chocolate layer, again, I'm not going to cut these photo mats. I don't need to. The only thing that I need to cut is the tree. So I can move these out of the way. And again, I'm just going to cut my tree. Then on my white layer, again, I don't need to cut anything there. It's just photo mats. My ponderosa pine layer is where it's going to have to get a little tricky because I'm going to have to angle these at a diagonal probably to get it to actually cut the length I want. So again, I'm going to have to play around with that. And then the final layer, I'll just cut these images. So I'll just move them out of the way. Now, obviously, I'm going to cut each of these layers one at a time since I'm going to put in different colored paper. Or if I wanted to, I could put my scraps of paper on my mat. But in this case, it's just as easy to move it around and just do one layer at a time. And I'll also tell you that I'm going to use some on some of these things like the tree and the banner that are going to be popped up. I'm going to put in my deep cut blade and cut it out of cardboard. So like a cereal box, so that it will be stiff. And then I'll cut paper again to cover up that cardboard box. Okay, I think the only other thing that I have is just when I use this tree. So I, let's see, I think it was Icon, maybe, no? Okay, I suppose I could actually just look in my book. Okay, I guess I gotta look in my book. Oh, it was Icon. I just was looking in the wrong place. So Icon, oh, way over here. Okay, so when this pops up, let's make this a little bit bigger. Notice it comes up facing the opposite direction than I wanted. So all I had to do was flip horizontally to get my tree facing the way that I need it to face for my layout. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and be sure to download the Cricut Craft Room file that I provide for you. If you make something, I'd love to see what you make on my Facebook page at facebook.com/studio scrapping. Until next time, happy scrapping!